Hey, how's it going? It's John Suntress, and welcome to Word Balloon. You found us. That's excellent. If this is your first time, please consider subscribing to us via iTunes or Stitcher or certainly Last FM and all the various places you can find podcasts. Word Balloon is invariably there. Subscribe. Please let me know what you think of the show. Write ratings over at Apple's podcast platform and give me a review. You can say nice things, you can say lousy things. You suck, John, and let me tell you why. Happy to hear your feedback either way. But do me a favor and like me where you can and leave comments. And also, as always, email me, john@wordballoon.com. I'm interested in your feedback. I'm interested in what you're thinking about the content that I put here. Also, I have a YouTube channel under Word Balloon. Would you please consider subscribing there? I've got about 400 plus subscribers currently. I'd like to get to at least 1,000 and start generating more video content. So go to YouTube and click on the Word Balloon channel and please subscribe.
Terrificon, Connecticut's biggest Comic-Con, returns to Mohegan Sun, August 9th to the 11th. Meet Billy D. Williams, Val Kilmer, Doctor Who's John Barrowman, and the voices from Animaniacs and Thundercats. New England's largest guest list of comic book artists from DC and Marvel Comics is at Terrificon on August 9th to the 11th at Mohegan Sun. Tickets on sale now at Terrificon.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Man, can you believe July is almost over? Man, more than half of the year is already over. This is insane. Especially given the way the year started for me. It's, again, I don't mean to harp on it. Had the infection, happened right before Christmas, 5 weeks in the hospital. I get out at the end of January. I'm like, all right, good luck this year. I gotta tell you, 2019, despite starting as crazy as it did, not a bad year. Man, I've had so many great guests on this year. This month is a crazy month in a good way. No, I didn't go to San Diego. Yes, I got all the news. I'm optimistic about Star Trek Picard, despite my frustrations with Star Trek Discovery. I'm optimistic about Star Trek Lower Decks. The new Jace and Silent Bob movie looks like it might be fun again. Another good road picture. I'm for that. Haven't seen the Top Gun trailer yet. Haven't really gleaned all the San Diego news because I think it was bumming me out. I mean, I'd go to Instagram and I'd see great photos with friends hanging out. I'm like, I should be in that photo. I know those people. Those people actually like me. They come on my show. They're happy to see me. They're happy to talk to me. So, but back to this month in Word Balloon, stuff I have been experiencing. Last week was great. We started off with the Gail Simone rerun that everybody loves, and that obviously played well. Then I had an amazing conversation with Kelly Sue DeConnick. I'm going to see her and a lot of my friends in Rose City. That's going to be payback. Terrificon next month. That'll be payback. A lot of my friends will be there, so that'll be cool. But I got to tell you, with these 9 days, the couple Word Balloons left for July, you're gonna plots. If I can use some Yiddish there. I'm amazed at the conversations that I had. First of all, as a safety, I always try to find a friend, Chicago creator, that isn't going to Comic-Con, and that's always my safety show, and it's always going to be good because it's a friend, and we're local and stuff. Mike Norton fills the bill. I went to 4 Star Studios. He and Sean Dove and I had an excellent lunch. Sean and I disagreed about Star Trek Discovery. He likes it. Maybe I'll have him on at some point to talk about Star Trek Discovery. I don't know. But Mike and I got together because he's doing great work on Grumble with Rafer Roberts and also with Eric Powell's imprint. We talk about that. We talk about the loss of Matt, of course. Still on my mind. I can't help it. It's still bumming me out. But Mike is also bringing Battle Pug back, now to Image Comics. And what a crazy ride Battle Pug has been for Mike. I mean, as we say, it started off as a t-shirt concept for my buddies at iFanboy as a premium for them. And then it kind of became its own thing, an amazing webcomic. The Dark Horse people recognized how popular it was, and they collected the webcomic. And now, Mike is working on Volume 3, and going to put it out as an Image Monthly. Pretty neat. We talk about the differences between webcomics and straight-up comics. We talk about Little Donnie, and Mike has kind of stopped doing it. I get it. I think we all get it. Good Lord. How are we able to maintain composure in these dark times? Sorry, folks. A little politics. Can't help it. It's always good to sit down and talk with Mike. He's one of my favorite people. He's one of the first comic creators I really got to know. And I remember back in 2006 when he told me, Crank and I are going to start a podcast. I hope that's not a problem. Like, why would it be a problem? I'm like, don't worry about it. Do it. That's great, man. You guys are funny. The Crankcast started in 2006. We all did the 24-hour podcast together. The Crankcast guys, me, and the Around Comics guys. We were all at Dark Tower, one of the great Chicago stores. And we literally did it for 24 hours. And Seeley was there, and a lot of other friends, and Scotty was there, and his wife Casey sang, and Seeley had a great horror movie guest and stuff. That was a great experience. We don't talk about that in this conversation, but in putting this together, it made me think of that great time we all had. Like I said, Mike's one of my favorite people, and as I run to the end of July, a great way to start the week is this conversation with Mike Norton on today's Word Balloon. Brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you greatly, League, for your support. You've really been there for me this year, as you've always been in the years past as well. Genuinely appreciate it. Trying to build out Word Balloon into a bigger and better thing, and part of it happens because of subscriptions to Word Balloon via Patreon. Do you like what you hear in Word Balloon? You've seen that I've upped the episodes because I've got more free time, because I have less working time in radio. But do you enjoy it? Is it worth $1 a month to you? Is it worth the price of a comic book? If you think so, I appreciate the subscriptions to wordballoon.com via Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/wordballoon or click on the ad right there on the front page of wordballoon.com. Thank you, League of Word Balloon listeners. This Word Balloon is also brought to you by Aftershock Comics, good friends of the program. I bet they had a hell of a San Diego. I'm looking forward to having Joe Pruitt on, or one of the other Aftershock creative people on, to tell me how things went in San Diego. They're having a great year. Brand new titles that they can put alongside their classics like Animosity from Marguerite Bennett, and Garth Ennis's Jimmy's Bastards, and Dark Ark from Cullen Bunn, and Baby Teeth from Donny Cates. I'm talking about stuff like Chris Sabella's Trust Fall that started last month. I'm looking forward to Cullen Bunn's new book, Knights Temporal. Matthew Klickstein's You Are Obsolete, to go along with some other big debuts this year, like Tim Seeley's Dark Red and Phil Hester's Stronghold. Now, in the weeks ahead, we'll have more Aftershock creators to talk about their books, but you don't have to wait. You'll find full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on these books to order through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. All right, without further ado, let's get into my conversation with Mike Norton, an intimate talk at 4 Star Studios. We're sitting in the couch, surrounded by action figures. Perfect atmosphere to have a talk about the comic book market, the creator-owned world as Mike Norton sees it. Here it is now on Word Balloon. Mike Norton, welcome back to Word Balloon. It's been about a year. I think Little Donnie's the last thing we talked about.
Probably. Oh, yeah. So it's been a while since I made one of those.
I was going to ask, man, is it like, are you like the kid that gets pelted with snowballs to the point where you're like, all right, I give? What would you say? Sort
of. I mean, it wasn't by, like, nasty trolls or anything. I think when the last time I talked to you, I was saying that I wasn't going to quit until he did. And I definitely regret saying that, because it wasn't long after I talked to you that I was like, I give up.
Well, it's relentless.
It's relentless, and it just got more and more relentless.
Yeah. Well,
and I can't. It was taking a toll on my happiness.
No, I get it, man. I mimic a lot of voices, and certainly did it for a long time in radio. And in my last job was during the 2016 campaign, and I had friends telling me, oh, you should, I bet you could do a decent Trump. And it wasn't hard, and I'm sure if I worked on it, I could be a good one. He's like, oh, you should, like, go on stations and be Trump. And I'm like, yeah, it's not funny.
Yeah, it's not.
And I'm like, it's kind of not what I'd want to do with my time. So, yeah, I get it. No, I totally get it. But, again, I love that you did it, and I love that you collected the book and everything.
I'm very happy with the work I did. I'm proud that I turned something that was personally bothering me into a productive outlet. But I do also feel like I kind of quit, and I don't like quitting.
I'm not.
But the thing is, I made my own. It was my own little. I built this weird, constraint that I had to, like, keep making it. Nobody else was. Well, there were people that sent in we really appreciate this, but it was I was the one making myself do it. Nobody else was. So, yeah,
You did it a long time too.
About almost 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't imagine if I was going to do 4 years of this.
And who knows? Who knows? We might have season 2.
I don't want to.
I know, buddy. Believe me. Yikes! Yeah. I know. And forgive me, folks. I know I'm pissing off like half of you. Like, we don't want to hear the politics. Shut up.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I did that I felt was important, and I'm glad that I exercised that muscle. But there were comics that I wanted to make,
Sure,
so sure. I'm glad that I'm doing those now. So,
but again, I just the whole idea of political cartooning, I think, is an art unto itself. Yes. And I'm glad you entered that arena, and truly, I think you did a great job.
I tried.
Yeah. Well, on to other things. Battle Pug, big plans for Battle Pug?
Yeah, that's coming back September. So I did the first story as a webcomic online for about 5 years, and now I'm got the origin story out of the way. So I'm going to try my hand at making my own comic book. I'm not alone. I got Alan Pasalacqua, who was coloring it, and my buddy Crank lettering it.
Cool.
And I've got a bunch of more talented friends doing covers for me and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm excited. It's the webcomic was important to me, but I've never made a monthly comic book all by myself.
Oh yeah, all by yourself, yeah.
So it's kind of intimidating and scary, and I'm a little nervous and stressed out, but we'll see how it goes.
You gonna do 5 chapters, a trade and a break, and then?
Yeah, I'm 3 pages away from finishing the 5th issue already, and I still got to talk to Image. I don't know if they do the whole break in between story arcs right now, but that's the plan, and I'm gonna try some different things. They're gonna bust some genres, I think, in this. When I started doing it, I wanted to make Battle Pug the thing that I was able to draw anything that I wanted to, and I'm going to test that in this. So, yeah, we're gonna flip the script, as the young kids say. I guess.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad. And honestly, isn't it funny? And to remind people, this was kind of a lark that you did with iFanboy initially, the initial Image. Is that right, as far as...
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they were doing...
It was a T-shirt design.
Yeah, a T-shirt design.
The T-shirt design. And I didn't have any original characters, so I made it up on the spot.
Your love for dogs, and specifically pugs, and then you throw a Conan-looking guy on top of it?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that seems like something that doesn't fit together. Let's see how that works. And, yeah. And now I'm cornering the market on all pug-related comics.
Yes, you are, man.
I have to duke it out with Gemma Carell at some point, but I don't...
What's her thing?
She does all those cool, like, cutesy comics with. You see them on Facebook all the time,
like the Justice League dressed up as dogs, or whatever. Or the dogs dressed up like the Justice League. Is that stuff,
that
or no?
That might be. I don't know if she's done one like that, but yeah, a lot of them are about like depression and dogs.
Oh, did she win the Eisner a few years ago? And
she won.
And she had her service dog with her when she got the award.
No, that wasn't her. That was.
So last time was at the Eisner.
I can't remember her last name. Her name's Anne. I think she goes by something else.
Okay.
But Gemma won the National Cartoonists Association award.
Wow.
So yeah, she.
The Reuben.
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep.
That is not a sandwich. That's a cool thing.
That's the big deal.
You don't get a coupon for a free sandwich when you win the Reuben. Absolutely. Which
the Eisners are a niche within that. So yeah,
totally.
Yes. Well, because we're comic books, they have a comic book category too. They're all comics.
Oh, I didn't realize the cartoonists have. That's good. I'm glad they do.
I think Latour won one year.
That's great.
I think I can't remember.
Wow.
Correctly. Yeah.
That's cool for Southern Bastards, or
something like that. Yeah, they did. It was nominated. I think.
Oh, that's terrific.
I think.
Man,
I might be wrong.
As we're talking, and I'll this gives me an opportunity to promote it. Latour has a YouTube show now.
Yeah, I saw
And
that.
Zdarsky is his first guest.
Hoarding in on your territory.
I'm totally for it. I think Latour is a great conversationalist.
That's certain.
And I mean, from day one, and at least from when I met him, and no, I think he's an interesting guy, and God bless him for doing it. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm a subscriber.
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, everybody.
I saw the little preview and it made me laugh. So.
Absolutely. I was going to say I don't remember the name of it right now. I'm not near a computer, but look up Jason Latour on YouTube. I'm sure you'll find it, or if you follow him on social media, and it's very funny, very good.
I agree.
It is interesting, and I always mention this: the swing regarding the Rubens and the Cartoonist Society, where comic strips are right now, and where comic books are right now.
Well, I mean, that's a big subject. I mean,
I know. Well, yeah, it's an essay question, and we don't have, whatever.
Comics is a big well, we were just talking about the political thing, but I mean, the way social media is, it's the perfect delivery system for these comics now. You see them all the time. My social media is pretty curated, so I usually see what I want to see. But,
sure.
I mean, I get tons of outside comics by kids that I've never heard of, and
do they send you stuff?
No, but it just pops up in my feed.
I see.
And I learn about stuff that way.
That's cool.
Just the way the people get their news now from Twitter and things like that, which I don't know if that's good, but I've learned stuff faster that way. That's definitely true.
As a webcomics guy, have you ever gone to any of those webcomic based, like
no,
Penny Farthing?
I wouldn't. Penny Arcade?
Penny Arcade,
yeah,
that's right. Excuse me, Penny Arcade.
I wouldn't call myself a webcomics guy. That would probably make them mad. That would make webcomics guys be mad.
Okay, because, I mean, again, Battle Pug, obviously, I mean, that's...
It was a webcomic, technically.
Well, it didn't... I mean, isn't that why Dark Horse is like, hey, if you want... we could trade these.
and they did that with a lot of webcomics, honestly, and really popular good ones, too.
Yeah.
I just realized I just put mine down.
Exactly.
But, I mean, I didn't even realize I was saying that when I was saying it. But yeah, they. I've never been to I don't even know.
PDX, I want to say, is one of their. Isn't that like a?
I don't know.
I think that's a web comics. And again,
there are.
This is Mike and I showing our ages. I think that's what they do. But that's what they call them, raves.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. I mean, a lot of them are way younger than me, and
True.
I don't keep up with a lot of that stuff. So.
I'm with you. I think digital entertainment is at a really interesting place right now because I think just like everything else, there are, there's entertainment that is created for the digital platform, and I think finally there's more acceptance for not just whatever young people are enjoying, but also some other age groups. And it's like taken forever, but I do think that people really older than us, the real senior citizens out there, they were maybe slow to the internet or whatever. And also, I think people thinking that they'd find entertainment there. But it seems to me, I mean, I feel like an old exception.
They're also making up the rules, too, now. It's
right.
Like we're the establishment is following them rather than
100%.
Them having to kowtow to try and get into a business. It's
Absolutely.
Like they're making up the rules to this now. And
I see it in broadcasting.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it was so funny. A couple of years ago, when I just started with CBS, CBS's radio division is owned by Entercom now. And Entercom's like, oh, we're going to have a big meeting about podcasting. And my program director's like, oh, you should be there because you know your stuff. And all it was, all right, take your radio stuff and make them into podcasts. It's like, all right, we're already doing that, but thanks. Good idea. Yeah, we kind of had that idea 5 years ago, but all right. And even 5 years ago, it was like, okay, that's what I always say. I love the podcast. Like, oh, I've been doing this for 5 years. I'm like, go away.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you weren't doing it before 2010, I'm not impressed. I'm sorry.
Yeah. This is why. That's kind of why I don't go to a lot of panels and stuff at conventions. Is because I'm always afraid it is going to be like that, where it's like, oh, I'm not going to learn anything from this. This is stuff that I learned on my own, and that's not a good attitude to have. Because
no, but
you can. These panels are great, and a lot of people have interesting stories and stuff. But it's like, yeah, I've been to a couple of things like that where it's just like, oh, this is the stuff that I had to kill myself for a couple months to figure out on my own, and oh, you're just telling me what I already know.
But sometimes that's a good affirmation that you're figuring.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, good.
Sure.
I'm already on that.
Well,
page.
at least I got it right.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's not a very good attitude to have. I mean, there's information out there that people have. It's stupid to think that you know everything. So.
No, I agree with that. My favorite example, and I know I've said it before on Word Balloon, and it involves one of our mutual friends. Actually, maybe a couple, because I don't know how well you know Jeremy Bastian, too.
Oh, I've met him a couple times, and I'm not good friends.
We're decent acquaintances through buddies and stuff. But Jeremy, Ryan Brown, and Evan Dorkin were all on a panel together. And I want to say Sarah, Aaron's wife, Evan's wife, was on there as well. And it was at one of Tony Moore's CincyCon shows.
Sure.
And Evan was really, it was fun watching Evan, because Evan went from being snide and being a little just messing with Brownie, with Ryan. And Ryan just started laying out some facts about, his creator-owned adventures and stuff. And Evan does a total 180, and it's like, really? And afterwards, like, God, I got to tell you, I was really glad to learn as much about you as I did, and it was so great seeing Evan become a serious Ryan Brown fan from that experience. And really, at least that was my perception watching both of them on the panel and off the panel, and during the rest of the weekend. It was one of my favorite things to see, and I'm like, that's fantastic, because I love them
not my experience with
Evan.
You don't remember that panel where he just he ripped me apart.
Well, if that was the one with Ming Doyle and Bellinger and everybody, that panel, and Word Balloon folks, you've never heard it. The reason why, it really went off the rails to the point where the con organizers are like, okay, we weren't there. What happened? And Evan was just jerking around and just being a wise ass. And a lot of people on the panel did not take it in the jest that it was intended. And really, Evan felt bad. Evan genuinely felt bad.
He apologized to me.
Yes.
But the thing was, it wasn't fun to take while I was on it. But it was like the whole time I was thinking, this is Evan Dorkin. This is hilarious. This is happening.
Well, that's right. He was just messing around. But I know a lot of people were greatly offended by that.
He is one of the funniest guys in comedy.
Totally agree.
And I think I love everything he's ever made. I'm a huge fan of his.
Me too.
And it was both terrifying and entertaining to be roasted on a panel when I didn't expect it.
I'm not sure I even have because I did record it intending to put it on, not knowing what I was going to get.
Yeah.
And man, that was a crazy weekend, because also I had Dave Johnson and Azzarello on a panel, and Azzarello is just ripping me on the panel, and it's great because you hear Marty Pasco in the audience laughing, and if you know Marty, you can totally pick out his voice. And and it was just really funny, and I mean, to the point where Azzarello and I were swearing at each other. Well, I don't fucking agree with you. Well, I don't care if you fucking agree with me. It was great.
And you just need to invite Jeff Ross to these things now. Just start roasting.
The Roastmaster, absolutely, man. That's very funny. Have you ever been to a good comic book creator roast?
No, I don't want to be part of that.
Honestly, man, so many amateurs try. Even coming from sports radio, where we had a bunch of wise asses that were pretty funny in the bar, pretty funny on the radio. You put them on a roasting panel, though, not so good.
No, the thing is also you have to know that person.
Oh, that too. Yeah. So
otherwise, it's not like I said with the thing with Evan, is that I thought it was funny, and I don't think some of those other people thought it was funny.
They didn't find it funny at all.
And I'm like,
I almost had to apologize as much as Evan did for being the moderator. How come you didn't stop him? I'm like, because it was just
that's
a
what
joke.
He does, man.
Exactly. I'm like, he's just being funny. Well, I didn't find it funny.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Sorry.
Probably should cut all of this out.
Oh, hell no. Absolutely. I love it. I'll take full command of it and everything. And Evan's coming on hopefully in a couple of weeks.
I think he's one of the greatest comic people ever, and he did a cover for Grumble for us.
Hey, awesome.
And I think that he's amazing. And,
totally agree.
His Dork is a like a revelation to me as a comic book. It was
Milk and Cheese.
Milk and Cheese is great, but Dork, I mean, the way that he just opens up about his problems and at the same time just being ridiculously funny.
True.
Is it's something that not a lot of people can do or are brave enough to do. So
That's a good point.
And I love the guy. I think he's amazing.
Me too, and we have a lot in common. We both love old radio shows. We always talk about that stuff.
That's the thing. He's a font of knowledge about that stuff. He's doing a podcast about crappy movies now.
Oh, that's perfect.
Just old cheesy movies.
I had no idea. I'm going to have to listen.
It's called Tear Them Apart.
Oh, very funny.
And it's awesome.
I bet.
But yeah, he just knows so much stuff about that, that stuff.
That's like Ordway's doing a podcast.
What? Jerry Ordway?
I know, with Mitch from Terrificon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And he was just telling me, I think it's called The Awesome Podcast. I'm not really sure. I can't remember, a Totally Awesome Podcast. But Mitch, I had no idea, is a longtime Indiana Jones fan expert and has, had good access to get some interesting interviews here and there. And is like, if you ever really want to deep dive into Indiana Jones, Mitch is one of the guys to go to. Which is kind of cool. But yeah, he and Jerry just like hang out and just talk about whatever. And again, Jerry's like one of us, a little older than me. But loves the same stuff that we all love and everything. And yeah, Dorkin is absolutely like that. So no, I definitely want to hear that. That's great. Tear them apart. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, you mentioned Grumble. I want to get into it. Man, how long have you been doing Grumble now? How many issues?
10.
Fantastic.
I finished 10. I think 9 comes out. If it hasn't come out this week,
I was going to say, I thought I saw something in the last couple of weeks.
It might have been delayed. I don't know.
Okay.
It wasn't because of us. We've had some printer problems or some diamond problems. I don't know, but 10 is the end of this current arc, and we have 5 more issues planned after that, and then we'll reassess and see what we want to do.
Sure.
It's through Eric Powell's Albatross Funny Books, and he's been really good about letting us. I mean, he's put out 10 issues of an independent comic. I think, I don't know, Goon or Hillbilly are probably the only other books he's done that many issues of.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm pretty, I'm very happy and excited to be doing it. It's just I don't know. It's one of those things where I came up with it, and I just wanted to do it, and it's just so satisfying, and it's the kind of thing that we all want to do, making comics. When you're create your own stuff, it's just like, this is the best case scenario. Other than I guess about 1 million people buying it would be nice. But,
sure.
But yeah, I'm working with Raver Roberts, and he's so great with coming up with crazy ideas, and Marissa's making it look great, and Crank's there, and I'm just I don't know, I couldn't be happier creatively right now. So
that's great, man. Well, and it's funny, in the wake of Mad Magazine shutting down, Eric's been kind of saying, hey, maybe this is my opportunity. Tell me if you. I assume you'd be
we haven't
part
talked
of the conversation.
we haven't talked about it personally, but yeah, I'm definitely in on that. If that happens.
Great.
He would definitely be the guy to go to as far as making something like that, because that's the touchstone as far as his. That and old Kirby Monster stuff is Eric Powell.
Sure.
So I think that he'd be the logical inheritor of, if somebody's going to do it, and he might as well. So I'd love to be part of that if he lets me. I mean, he's already doing the Spook House thing is basically that for kids.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like he hasn't have a shelf of Eisners for best humor publication.
Right, irreverent humor.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He knows how to be funny. So,
I wanted to know, because that's kind of been one of my questions these last few weeks with the announcements about Mad. What various creators think, and what are your thoughts on?
Well, I mean, it's when Star Wars and Mad Magazine are like the things that made you want to make stuff when you're a kid. That Star Wars and Spider-Man and Mad Magazine is pretty much my upbringing. I think, my dad brought home comics from the gas station, and I think Mad Magazine may have been the first thing I bought with my own money.
Wow, cool.
Because they were at the grocery store,
Yeah, yeah.
And so you go there with your mom, and he was like, "Oh, give me $1."
Cheap.
Yeah.
40 cents cheap.
Yeah. So
when I was reading it.
Yeah, and they're just like Al Jaffe was like, my mom. I don't know if she bought it. I don't know where I got it, but they had those little digest collections.
Sure.
And I got into Al Jaffe that way. And I was too young to be able to differentiate between artists, and even though they had such drastic different styles in that magazine, but that's one of the ways I learned. And just how to be funny.
God, yes.
You couldn't find a better textbook. So.
Well, that's, honestly, it's, and it sounds stupid to say this, but I really do think because they had such great cartoonists that a lot of the writing did kind of it's like, they had great lines along with the amazing art as well.
It's not hard to be funny in a comic book, but there's definitely a different art because, timing is such a thing in comedy, and timing is an essential part of making comics that it's hard for a lot of people doing like serious work to get the hang of, so to be able to be funny in comics is a different art than being funny in like TV or even stand-up. It's a whole different thing, but still very related to. So it's its own little art, I think.
You ever deep dive and go back to the decades before you started reading? And because I got to tell you, I grew up in the 70s.
Yeah, sure.
But I'll tell you that, man, I read 50s magazine mad. I love the original Kurtzman comics and Will Elder and everybody. But man, I'll tell you, when they were first doing the magazine and stuff like that, I've been saying it the last couple of weeks. They were the Daily Show of comics.
Well, a lot of those digests that I would get were reprints.
Right.
So there was a fair amount of that because I knew that because I didn't get references.
Sure.
And as it
was contemporary. That's what I mean. It really was kind of the Daily Show of its time.
You're like, I don't
know who Dave Garroway is.
I don't know what this is, but sure. Not as much as like I know of friends of mine that are, I think like Scotty Young and Tony Moore, like, they were, their thing when they were little kids. So.
I should talk to Tony about Jack Davis because that was such a coup for him and Remender to get Jack Davis to do a Fear Action cover. Good Lord.
Oh, yeah.
And it is so Jack Davis. And it's fantastic because it's like we were talking as we were walking back from lunch about Beer Gut Wolverine and Days of Future Past. This was Beer Gut Heath Hudson, 50-year-old or 60-year-old Heath Hudson at the Beer Gut. It was so perfectly Mad Magazine.
And it's
Jack
one
Davis.
of those things when I saw that kind of stuff, it didn't dawn on me just how much Tony had been influenced by that stuff. It's only when you see that side-by-side comparison you're just like, oh,
there it is.
I get what he was doing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Oh, no, I love that stuff. I agree with you. That's cool. No, this is going to be a very interesting time because I can appreciate, much like Vertigo closing up, and I think a lot of publishers stepping up and going, well, guess what? We're kind of doing the same thing that Vertigo's been doing, and we're still here.
Well, I think that's kind of the problem. That's the problem that Vertigo was having.
Probably.
Is that they were it's like a lot of people, it was like I have this very Vertigo-ish title, and if they couldn't get it done at DC, then they're like, I'm going to make this an Image. So,
did you guys ever pitch Revival at first to Vertigo or anything?
I think we may have. Or it was something that wasn't out of the cards for us. I think it was like one of those things that we might have were going to talk to.
Yeah.
I know that Tim and I had talked to Shelley Bond a couple of times about doing
Love
stuff.
Shelley.
But I think he just mentioned something to Eric, and Eric just accepted it sight unseen. So that might have
sure.
But yeah, the thing about that is that people were making their Vertigo comics at Image.
Yep.
So a lot of them were like, well, why would I make it a Vertigo? And I think that was kind of one of the problems that Vertigo was having. Even though they have this, this storied reputation, and of course we all grew up reading. A lot of us grew up. I mean, I was way older, but a lot of people grew up reading.
Well, in your
Vertigo.
20s, certainly.
Yeah, sure.
But
and it does have this well-deserved reputation, but I also don't. I'm not shocked and dismayed about it going away, and I don't think that it will stay gone either.
I don't either. Brian and I were, Bettis and I were talking about that, and I'm like, I bet within 10 years we see a little Vertigo moment.
It's a label that means something, and who says it doesn't come back in some form?
Well, and I mean, the Kitchen movie is coming out at the end of the summer,
and that looks good too.
Oh my God! And truly, Ming Doyle and Ollie Masters, it's such a great comic.
Yeah.
And my buddy Rob Burnett, who does a really good YouTube podcast, he's a big movie guy. He directed Free Enterprise, that Shatner movie.
Oh yeah, sure.
And big Trekkie. And we were talking, and he said, "Man, I saw the trailer for The Kitchen. It looks great." He saw it at Cinecon, which used to be called Show West, and that's the convention where all the theater owners go and the movie studios pitch what they got coming up and stuff. And it's very Comic-Con-esque.
Yeah,
very
sure.
much so. And he's like, "Oh, The Kitchen looks amazing." I'm like, it's a comic book. He's like, "I didn't know it was a comic book."
Yeah, a lot of people didn't.
Yeah.
My wife didn't. It was like she saw the trailer and I was like, that's a comic book.
Yeah, and again, that was like kind of, not that long ago for Vertigo, and I was like, I'm like, there's a good Vertigo book from a recent vintage.
Yeah. But
I get what you're saying, and I also am like, I'm disappointed that they gave up. It's like radio with, my analogy is it's like radio with music, where radio really had the corner of the market up breaking new bands, and in the 90s they kind of and I don't know if this is the case at Vertigo, they focus grouped themselves out of breaking bands and playing it safe, and then Pitchfork and the digital revolution kind of took it away from them.
It wasn't on the inside, but I mean, it doesn't. It might have something, a little bit to do with it. But I mean, Vertigo was kind of clinging for a long, long time
on the rep.
Yeah, so
and also all their tastemakers.
It's kind of amazing that they stuck around as long as they did. So.
Well, and a lot of their core editors that were like the tastemakers saying, no, we'll take a chance on that person, with the exception of Will Dennis. Axel Alonso goes to Marvel, Shelley Bond leaves, Joan Hilty leaves, certainly, and they, kind of find a reason to get rid of Karen. And it's like, that's kind of what happened. All their, I think, real sharp editorial eyes left.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens. So.
I'm with you.
It's hard to say. That's why I don't run a comic company. And I never will.
Do you, when you're a creator-owned person, though, I mean, you are kind of obviously in charge of your own book and everything. And, I mean, did you feel like in the revival time, it was you and Tim?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well, Tim pretty much ran the ship on that.
Okay.
I mean, he likes doing that stuff.
Okay.
He was mostly the... And I'm a pretty stand at the back of the room kind of guy, naturally.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no problem with that. It's like, I'll be hands off on that stuff. And I had creative input, and that's all I really wanted. As long as I know about stuff, that was cool. So, being the person that talks to everybody is a skill set in itself. Managing stuff is not a easy thing to do, and I'm doing it. I wouldn't say I enjoy it, but I'm doing it. So.
Do you have an editor for Battle Pug?
I don't actually, and I probably should. So we've got about a month before it comes out. So honestly, like edits, I really only go as far as like copy editing. I don't really have a story structure editor like we do on Grumble. Well, Alejandro Arbona from used to be at Marvel. He's doing a lot of freelance work now.
Cool.
Is our editor on that, and he does do a lot of like suggestive stuff for, and that's because Rafer wants it. You know, he thinks it makes him write better stories.
Sure.
And who am I to argue? You know, that's
Absolutely.
that's the way it works. Me, as a writer, I wouldn't say that I'm at a level where I want to be told what to do yet. I mean, I think it speaks to the immaturity of where I am right now, but it's like one of those things where I was like, I think this would work better if you did this, and I would probably go, well, I don't want to redraw that. So basically,
it is what it is.
Yeah, but
moving on.
But please correct my spelling, though.
Oh, sure,
that kind of thing.
Do you worry looking back at stuff and say, oh man, I really should have spent more time on that page or whatever?
I'm not one for looking back at all.
Good,
but. I have looked. I mean, especially with this new Battle Pug, I've looked at a lot of the old stuff, and I've pleasantly surprised that it doesn't suck. And two, I'm like, oh well, you know, this kind of makes me feel better about the choices that I make. So it kind of. And I did all that without. I did have input. I would show some of it to people, but it wasn't an editorial thing. It was more like, "Hey, does this work for you?" And like I said, if they said yes, yay for me. And if they said no, I was like, "No, I'm not going to change it." So.
Formatting the webcomic for the trades. Did you find that the art still worked in a page presentation versus a screen presentation? How much of a difference?
No, that's
was
a good
there?
question, because I did very much design it for like to make you come back every week, because it was only out every week,
right?
So it's a page every week, and it does work. It still works, but it works in a different way, because as a weekly webcomic, it was supposed to be a cliffhanger, and I also wanted to have enough in every page so that you felt like you weren't wasting your whole week to read this one page.
I'm with you.
So it makes for a much denser and more leading throughout kind of. I think it actually helps it as a book like in print. The new comic is a lot different, because it's very much born for print, and it's told the traditional, you know. So I have it's weird, because I had this 300-page 5-year webcomic, and I feel like I have more breathing room in this monthly comic, because it's like if I know that I have a page after this,
right? So
if I want to have like 2 panels on this page and let it, breathe. You know, and I can add, it's my comic, so if I want to add more pages instead of just being, there's not one issue that's not less than 24 pages.
There you go. I was going to ask.
Most comics now are 20.
Right.
So,
right.
So I'm really, kind of giving myself room to like play around with stuff, and so it's a lot different in the way that but at the same time it's still storytelling. So I'm eager to see what like the people that read the original comic think, because it is different. It's a little it's not as dense, like I said, and it is a little more what do you call it, decompressed.
Interesting.
And that'll be interesting, because to see what people think about that, and because I know what I prefer when I'm reading a comic, and I'm wondering now if I'm just going to be a victim of, it's like, oh, I messed with this is the new Coke formula. I wonder if I screwed up what was good about the
original.
Yeah, so
that's interesting. And I know what you mean, because I find a similarity in reading collected comic strips. And I love reading old Kniff or Steve Canyon or Terry and the Pirates, and I love reading Rip Kirby, Alex Raymond stuff post Flash Gordon. And it is a denser read because of that. Just a strip and really like,
because you might have never read it again, so they had to
for
fill
a
it
daily
bunch,
newspaper, 4 panels a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a Sunday strip, and then also the people who only got the Sunday version had to, so it had to make sense from a Sunday only. Thing. I'm completely fascinated by the comic strip era.
You come back like 3 weeks later in one of those strips, and you're like, "What's happening now? Who are all these new people? What the heck happened? It was only 2 weeks ago."
And in some of those Shop Talk interviews that Will Eisner did for his book, the actual audio is on the documentary that John Cook made about Will Eisner, and he has the original interviews. And it was great hearing comic strip creators like Kniff talk about, well, I'd do a strip for 2.5 months, and that was, 10 weeks or whatever, 12 weeks. That was my maximum. And it was fascinating hearing him talking about story pacing and stuff. Yeah. So I can appreciate that, and I do think it will be interesting to see the difference. No,
you got stuff like, what's that doctor one, the old famous doctor?
Rex Mason?
Yeah, you have those.
Rex Mason!
You have those where it's just like, that goes on for months, and it's like, oh, they're still in the same room talking about so-and-so? It's like, oh my God.
When I was downstate...
But those are basically soap operas.
Exactly. When I was downstate, I remember the Bloomington Panagraph would run Mary Worth, and that was a classic, soap operas comic strip. And I'm like, boy, I forget what comic strip they dropped. Like, why did they drop Mary Worth? And I was on the radio, and so many people called it, hey, back off, man. Don't you dare touch Mary Worth. I love that strip. It's true.
But Mary Worth, you could probably just take the strip you ran yesterday and run it again, and nobody would notice.
Yeah. I love when artists, to make deadlines, would sometimes use the same background. And I love hearing podcasters call them on it. And it's like, guys, it's deadline art. Give the guy a break.
Yeah, man.
It's got the donuts have to come out on time. It's not there for you to ponder, you should have redrawn that.
What makes me laugh about that stuff is that when people bring that up or they've caught somebody, I think about the hundreds of other guys they haven't caught because they
decades.
They did it too well. And it's just like, you don't know how much we all do
Gil
this.
Kane did this back in the 60s and 50s.
We all do this, and you just didn't notice.
That's awesome, man. I know. Too damn funny. Yeah. No, I completely agree. I was going to ask regarding with Battle Pug, for the new monthly and everything. Do you stay in touch with the webcomic community and let them know, hey, we're going to have new stories and stuff?
We have a fan page on Facebook, and I've been putting stuff up on the website.
Oh, that's great. Preview art and everything.
Well, I mean, I commissioned a couple backup stories like a year ago, and some of them have been finished, some of them haven't. And I just it took a while to get Image to commit to a release date, so I just decided to start putting up some of those backup stories on the website. So there's new content up there, but it's basically here's what the Battle Pug characters have been doing in the past 2 years.
Sure.
It's just like vacation time,
That's cool.
But yeah, I go to, pug conventions and things like that and tell them new stuff's coming out.
Oh, that's great. That's funny. What else? What happens at a pug convention? That's a very, is it like a baby kind of Westminster kind of best in show? Do they walk the dogs around?
They don't have a beauty contest like that.
Okay.
But they do have. It's embarrassing. It's just like a college gymnasium filled with
people and their dogs.
People and their dogs. A lot of strollers with dogs in them.
Aw.
Because pugs don't age gracefully.
Man, I heard, and I'm so sorry, man. Jesus Christ, little Mo.
Both of my dogs are in very bad shape.
Heartbreaking, man. I love those dogs. They're scared the hell of me. I scare the hell out of both of them when I show up. But God damn it, I love those dogs.
They're fine. They're just really old and they just fall apart. But I took them to Pugfest this year and they did not enjoy it.
Were they scared?
Well, Ninja is very ornery now in his old age, and unless he has right next to you will let you know that he is unhappy. And Mo, being blinded deaf, just wanders around and bumps into things. So he's like a little pinball.
Damn, man. Heartbreaking.
It's fine. You're in a room full of hundreds of them that are just like that.
Sure.
So it's not...
Wow.
But they have little races and costume. This is the most pathetic thing I am talking about right now. But I go to them because I do about as well as I do at C2E2, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do that. So
that's cool. No, dude,
and they love pugs. So
dude, seriously, that's great that you do that, and it's great that you're so involved with rescuing these dogs.
Well, it's fun,
seriously.
and I like animals. So.
Yeah.
It's usually on my birthday, so I
that's great.
I like to have my birthday present is to go see a bunch of stupid dogs that shouldn't exist.
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah, and
excellent.
Thankfully they buy my comic book. And you know what? Jim McCarell's been there a couple times. They've had her as a guest.
Oh, that's cool.
So I've got to meet famous cartoonists too. So
that's excellent.
Yeah, it's very awesome.
Very cool. Well, wrapping up, obviously, I assume with Battle Plug coming out now as a monthly, that how do you feel about the market right now?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it, honestly. I don't. I feel like I mentioned earlier off the record that I don't. The more that I've been doing my own stuff, the less I pay attention to actually how the business in general is being done. And I feel like that's a counterintuitive and borderline stupid way of doing things. But it's also, I feel like it takes my mind off of the thing that I want to be doing. I don't know. I feel like people are still buying comics, right? So
yeah, I find that my own observation is that, like the regular book market, I don't think that. Brad Maltzer is thinking about Simon & Schuster, what they're doing every day. That all he can do is write his novels and know that he's got an audience. And I wonder if with creator-owned comics, it's kind of the same thing of whatever DC
I don't know.
Doing, so be it.
Yeah. The thing is now, the creative industries in general, it's not just publishing. It's like when we mentioned earlier about the webcomics, the younger people are the ones that are making the rules now. And I feel like in order for you see it with Kickstarter, you see it with Patreon, you see that a lot of us have to find a different way to make a living now. And if people don't buy my comic books, I'll figure out another way to get my comic books made. So I don't really think about, big picture. Yeah, I mean, I look for my jobs, I'm gonna make my comics. I got, I'm doing some stuff for DC right now still.
What are you doing for DC right now?
I'm doing a fill-in for Wonder Twins, I think.
Oh, fun. That's funny. Tomorrow I'm talking to Mark Russell.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to him too.
I did a story with him for the DC Christmas special, and
did you?
And I found it extremely enjoyable. He's a hilarious writer. So.
I completely agree. What was your DC Christmas subject?
It was the wraparound story. It was the Rep Hunter in the future, like the Google employees.
I still haven't read it. That's when I was down. That's when I was in the hospital.
Yeah,
so yeah,
I did all the little tie-in Rip Hunter stories.
Oh, fun! And, that's cool.
So I'm doing a Wonder Twins fill-in, and I'm doing some more Dark Horse stuff. And
anything you talk about or no?
I don't think they'll let me talk about it.
No problem.
I hate it when people say that, but
That's
I think
right.
they actually told me not to tell people about it. So
I'm cool with that.
I'll tell you off the road.
All right. Sorry, guys. I tried. Not really. I didn't try that hard.
But yeah, I mean, I just look, to make my living and also to make my comics. And hopefully they, are the same thing.
I'm with you, man.
But yeah, I want to make my stories, and I want people to read my stories. And so, like I said, I think it's kind of maybe counterintuitive to becoming a huge success, but it's the only thing I know how to do. So I'm not going to pretend I'm something that I'm not.
Well, dude, as always, thank you.
Thanks.
14 years we've been talking.
Yeah.
You were in my first year, man.
It's a long time.
It was a long time. IHateMike.com, as I remember the website.
It still is.
There you go. And yeah, anywhere, obviously you got your Facebook page and Battle Pug fan page. And
yeah, I post on Twitter. And
what's your Twitter handle again? I follow you, but
the Mike Norton.
The Mike Norton.
And I am on Instagram.
Sure.
I post all my terrible movies there.
Yes, we talked about that before we started recording, too. I love your love of 80s schlock cinema.
I've branched out.
Now you're really into horror.
I'm into the 2000s now.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Wow.
Watching a lot of terrible shot-on-video stuff.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Too goddamn funny. No, I always appreciate honestly, I love it. And as I've told you, when I get to meet some of these 80s celebrities,
like get an autograph.
Red Brown, man, I know. Yeah. No, as always, buddy, a pleasure, and good luck with the new Battle Pug and the continued success with Grumble, and Secret Dark Horse projects on the way, and some DC stuff on the way as well. But Wonder Twins issue, that's cool.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Great talk with Mike Norton. Do yourself a favor, pick up Grumble, pick up Battle Pug when it starts up again in September. Really great stuff. Go to the Battle Pug website and check out the webcomic. It's really funny stuff, and I'm always happy to talk to Mike again. And when I see him and his wife Julie, it's always a pleasure. They're a great couple, and truly, I am so glad that Mike moved to Chicago, and I've only gotten to know him better over the years. And man, I'll tell you, he and Seeley are probably because I see them as often as I do, the two comic creators in Chicago that I'm closest to. There's also Doug Klauba. He's another great Chicago creator. And then guys that are in Norton and Seeley's periphery that I've become friends with, like Pat Dow from Challengers Comics and Ryan Brown, people like that. Sean Dove, certainly. But I don't know. There's something about Seeley and Norton. Chris Crank, who we talked about on the show. Those guys were such good friends early on in Word Balloon. That just like Kelly Sue and Fraction. And then Bendis, too, and then Greg Rucka and Jeff Parker and people like that I've been talking to since I started Word Balloon. Well, the people I live near, it's even a closer relationship. And ever since I moved back to the city a couple of years ago, I love the fact that I live so close to Mike and Tim that, we can have lunch together, my schedule's easier, and that's a possibility. And when they finally start letting me walk more in hopefully a few weeks, if not a month or so, man, I look forward to seeing those guys before it gets cold again and then walking to 4-Star Studios. So fun conversation today with Mike Norton on Word Balloon. This is going to be an epic week. And, for people who are wondering, hey, what happened to Mark Russell? Don't worry, Mark Russell's still coming. That was recorded. We talked via Skype right before Comic-Con, 2 days before Comic-Con. And sometimes with Skype, you're a little behind, and you think someone's not talking, so you keep talking. And then you suddenly, they're ready with their next thought, and I kind of step on it a little bit. Well, thankfully, we recorded it in 2 separate tracks, and I just want to tweak the interview enough so that Mark's thoughts are clear, and I'm not stepping on him. And I felt bad, and I even told him at the end of the conversation, I'm like, hey man, no disrespect meant. That's just kind of the vagrancy of Skype. And he's like, no, I get it. It was fine. But we really had a fun conversation. I can't wait to share it with you. That will be coming up this week, along with some I Can't Believe I'm Talking to X. There are 2 at least conversations like that I will be releasing this week, and probably even before the 31st, there might be 1 or 2 more. I can't even go more into it. But a few, brand new conversations. I've never spoken to these people before. Mark Russell fits that bill as well, but I've already tipped it on Russell. Some big nerd names, and I'm very happy to have the opportunity to talk to these people, and I'll be sharing them with you by the end of July and the beginning of August, right here on Word Balloon. And then we got Terrificon coming up, and we got a couple other people that, we've tentatively scheduled speaking this week and next week. So great stuff coming, man, from Word Balloon. and I can't wait to share with you. Truly, you're going to look back at this month and go, look at all the cool people John got in July. Pretty amazing. It's hotter than July, as Stevie Wonder once sang. Anyway, thanks a lot for listening today, all brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. If you want to help out and subscribe to Word Balloon, it's free. It'll always be free. But if you want to help out the cause, go to wordballoon.com, click on the Patreon ad there on the front page, or you can go to patreon.com/wordballoon directly to my Patreon page. Thank you greatly for your support, League of Word Balloon listeners. And this episode brought to you by Aftershock Comics, the industry's fastest growing independent publishing company. They have great books. Man, I'm telling you. And also, as I said, with the loss of Vertigo, I think Aftershock is one of those great companies that's picking up the slack with a lot of really cool books. Not just like Baby Teeth from Donnie Cates and Jimmy's Bastards and Garth Ennis doing a walk through hell, and Animosity from Marguerite Bennett and Dark Arc from Cullen Bunn, but also, stuff like Joe Pruitt's horror anthology, Shock, and Cullen Bunn's Knights Temporal coming up, Chris Sabella's Trustfall, Matthew Klickstein's You Are Obsolete, Tim Seeley's Dark Red, just to name a few of the great books that cut across all genres and take us readers far beyond our comfort zones. More conversations coming up in the weeks ahead with more Aftershock creators about their books, but you don't have to wait. Go to their website. You'll find full story descriptions, preview pages of the art, and the diamond codes on these books to order through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. Thanks a lot for listening today. Like I said, more great stuff coming up before July ends. Stick with me on the journey sooner than you think. Holy shit names coming to Word Balloon. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions. Copyright 2019.